Hello, everybody. Excuse me. I am Elizabeth Case. I'm a Senior Systems Analyst with Consumers Energy. I've been with Consumers for almost 15 years now, working in work management, various roles within that area. I want to jump to the next slide, Sam. So a little bit about Consumers Energy. We are a joint gas and electric utility serving the lower peninsula of Michigan, most of it, not all of it. We have 1.8 million electric customers, 1.6 million gas customers, scattered all over the state. We have a lot of rural and a lot of urban areas that we serve, so we face some interesting challenges when we get out into the middle of nowhere with some of our work. And we've been in business, located here in Jackson, Michigan for 129 years. On to the next slide. The system that I work on that we are discussing today is our outage management system. We use a product called Responder, developed by Schneider Electric. A little bit about outage management systems in general. This is a predictive system. It basically takes in our customer calls when they experience outages, when the power's out, when the lights are off, and we need to get power back on. This is the system that handles that work. So we get the calls into our system. We analyze where those calls are on our network. We determine, the system determines where that outage is most likely to be based on who's calling in and how many in the area are calling in. So if you're the only person that calls in, it's probably your house that's out. If you and 3 of your neighbors call in, it's going to assume it's farther up the network, all the way up to the substation, based on the rules that are in the system. We then turn that information into incidents that get fed into our work management system that then get dispatched out to our crews to actually go and work on the outages and the devices and the lines that are experiencing outages. This is a critical part of utility work. And it is unique in that in a lot of systems, the more you throw at it, the more you kind of understand that it's going to get a little bit slow and it's going to have to work harder to deal with the data that it's working with or the users that it's working with. But because this is the system we rely on when there are large storms rolling through or big crises, the expectation is that this system can handle that additional load and all of those additional parameters of all of the additional data coming in and all of the additional users coming in. So this is a mission critical application. It is something we rely on when we're under heavy outage load, and it is an application that we are sitting within a Citrix environment. You want to jump to the next slide? So originally, before we went live with our upgrade in March with this project, we were running a little less consistently with our testing. We have a lot of tools, and we've brought AppLoader in to join our suite of tools. But we were really only stressing the underlying system of the OMS application. So we were really handling that call volume piece and stressing the system only from that angle. So we were not getting the testing into the system of the additional user load on the system. Our only user interface testing for a long time was done with a single user getting in with a spreadsheet and a stopwatch to determine response times for different actions in the user interface, and that's not at all conductive of what's actually happening in our system in production. And then our environments weren't always consistent. Because we were doing everything manually, we're humans, we find ways to take shortcuts. You don't run everything at exactly the same way every single time, so your tests are a little more variable. And then even though we were passing our tests by stressing the underlying system, we were still facing a lot of issues from the user interface around performance when we got into these big storm scenarios. Next slide. Our testing strategy with our upgrade was to try to put a stop to most of that. We still have our tools that feed the underlying systems in our application, but we brought in AppLoader to really give us a way to put the user stress into our system and to do it in as realistic a way as possible. So we're able to, with the scripts that we've developed with AppLoader, to simulate 40 different actions that our users take. We're able to do that at scale with 300 to 400 users in the system at a time. And we're able to, with the scripts, introduce a little bit of randomness so that it's not 400 users all doing the same action at the same time. They're all working independently of each other. And there's some things that we've done in the scripts to keep them from stepping on each other because they're all looking at the same data, so that it's not 400 users trying to edit the same incident. They're finding incidents that are available in the list and each working on their own stuff. This then also gave us, we integrated AppLoader with some of our other tools. The other tool that we brought in was Jenkins, which I think a lot of companies used for some of their software compiling tasks. And we've actually used it as an integration tool for all of our test scripts. And we've built it out so that we can start a test in Jenkins and it will run from resetting the environment, so we're at the same point every time, all the way through to gathering all of our test evidence at the end of the test, and it will do it entirely automated. This makes the tests highly repeatable. Within the AppLoader stuff, we are also very adaptive. We're able to change some parameters and only test certain parts of the application if we're honing in on an issue, or if we're testing a system that we interface with and they only need certain types of transactions. Our, as we see on this slide, basically goes through a series of steps. So we stand up our environment. We reset all of our databases back to an empty snapshot. We restart all of our servers, and our pre-prod environment is sized the same as our production environment, and it's something like 26 servers that we have to basically reset every time we run a test. So Jenkins handles all of that. And then we create all of our AppLoader users. We basically start up all of those user sessions on a bunch of servers that then log in and launch the application. We start our performance counters. We start our scripts for the test. We start some custom tools. The query logger, the call pumper, and terminator are all custom tools that test various parts of the application. And then we can set the duration of our test, so it will run for as long as we tell it to. And then once the test resolves and completes, it will stop everything. It collects and archives all of the data and all of the event logs, and it cleans up all of our AppLoader users. It basically runs a separate script that logs everybody out of the application and closes all of their sessions. And so we can in Jenkins then schedule these back to back to back, and in our project we were able to run something almost 300 performance tests using this setup and these tools in order to meet our testing goals and really put a lot of stress on our system and make sure that what we were implementing was going to meet our demands for production work. AppLoader helped us meet our testing goals. The scripting was very intuitive and quick to stand up, especially to get the initial framework going. I kind of refer to the AppLoader scripts as my children, because to really get the full scripts of all of the different things that we wanted to incorporate, it took me about 9 months total, but it was very quick out of the gate when we first brought it on site to get things stood up and get those initial tests going. and to then make it modular and add on to it as we added additional functionality. So we were able to run tests even while we were still adding to the scripts. It gave us much more insight into our user interface. Like I said, we weren't really getting a whole lot of insight with a single user getting in and running with a stopwatch. We do have some telemetry data, code level telemetry that Responder provides us, and this gave us a chance to really measure up against that and see what is the data telling us versus what is the actual user experience. And there were some places where telemetry was telling us things were a lot worse than they actually were, and there were some places where telemetry was telling us things were a lot better than they actually were. And we were able to work with both NRG and Schneider to work through some of those discrepancies. And then the NRG team was very receptive to our ideas for their product, and they were very quick to turn around new features as we requested them. The main thing with that was we requested the ability to run some of the AppLoader tasks and scripts from a command line or going directly into basically feeding it a link and having it be consistent every time. And that basically gave us our ability to link it into Jenkins so we could automate everything end to end. I think that is.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. That